Welcome to some new r/malicious compliance stories, where people comply to the letter but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. Thanks for all the likes and comments on the last video. If you would like to support this channel, please hit the like button and consider subscribing if you enjoy the content. And now, let's start with the first story. It's called Not Enough Sauce. I was working at McDonald's about 10 years ago. Despite what people might think, there's actually a lot of work involved, since we only had 6 people trying to do the work of 20. Likewise, getting yelled at all day in a 100+ degree kitchen is also less pleasant than other jobs I've worked. I've worked as much as I could every single day, but sometimes things just rubbed me the wrong way, so much that I completely acted like a fool over it. This was one of those times. I realized at that moment, I could probably get fired right now. Looking back, I realize I am lucky I didn't get fired for that. Here's what happened. A guy comes in and asks for a McDouble with Mac sauce. So I make a normal McDouble and I put a shot of Mac sauce on it. We now have a McDouble with Mac sauce. Crazy concept, I know. The manager comes back a minute later, making a big scene. This guy wanted Mac sauce. Give me a McDouble with Mac sauce on it, ASAP. I'm pretty sure the whole lobby could hear it, maybe even people in the parking lot. I put Mac sauce on it, then put extra Mac sauce on it. Okay, so it's extra Mac sauce you want. Oh, I've got extra Mac sauce for you, friend. Here's one extra shot. And here's another one just for your trouble. But wait, that's only one extra Big Mac's worth. Did you possibly want an extra Big Mac's worth? Here's another 2 shots for you. 12 shots of Big Mac sauce later, I thought, I hope this is sufficient for him. What we actually had at this point was a pile of Mac sauce with a side of McDouble. If anyone was paying attention, they could see the Mac sauce oozing into the paper. 1 McDouble, extra Mac sauce. It gets sent out. A few minutes later, the manager comes back, looking very disappointed. The customer is looking at me like I just got done robbing his house. The manager says, "Okay guys, this is completely disgusting. Can we please get a McDouble with just a little bit extra Mac sauce?" What was that? Please? Why didn't you say so in the first place? Why yes, you may have a McDouble with a little extra Mac sauce. The new McDouble got sent out, the man enjoyed his meal, and we all lived happily ever after. The next story is called Leave Her Alone. I'm a waitress/server/cashier at a semi-local Italian chain. I recently had to take a month off of work for health reasons, since I was in the emergency room and then had to spend time in an inpatient. While I was away, there were huge changes at my job, including new managers and 2 new employees. I've only been working there since last June, but I picked things up pretty quickly, bearing the first day where I had to deal with a packed dining room by myself while still in training. I'd messed up pretty badly with the computer system and needed the manager's help. Still, it happens. Yesterday, I met the new girl for the first time. It was her 3rd day, still in training. She is my age and a complete sweetheart. And as the dining room slowly became more and more packed, we made a great team. She got to practice working with the computers and talking to customers, while I took down the orders and showed her how everything worked. It was her first time properly serving there, and she really did great, considering that, certainly at first. The other 2 people who were working were a manager and 1 other hourly employee. The managers at my job will also serve and work the counters. Basically, all waitresses have to do double the work and we still get paid dirt. I was running between the dining room and the counters to try to keep up, although we can only serve max 2 people at the counters picking up or placing orders at a time. It was to the point where my manager and her friend had bundled up and complained about how cold it was, while I was flushed, with my coat off, covered in sweat. The manager and her friend were sitting down together, alternating between scrolling on their phones and talking. They were only getting up to answer the phones when they'd already rung 5+ times and having people wait at the counters to be helped for 10+ minutes. It was massively irritating, but I didn't have the time or energy to confront them. Well, about halfway through my shift, my manager told me that I can't just go in between the dining room and the counter. And if I didn't pick one or the other, she'd withhold my tips for both, since I wasn't fully invested in either. She gave me a choice on paper, but in reality made it perfectly clear that I was stuck behind the counter and the new girl, the trainee, was on her own. There was nothing I could really do, so I just stayed at the counter, though that was plenty slammed in and of itself. I really could have used my 2 co-workers who were screwing around on their phones. I didn't have time to answer phone calls, pack up orders, check people out and take to-go orders all at once. I had one particularly angry woman call me a lazy witch for leaving her on hold for about 2 minutes. That stuck with me. While I was doing all this, the new girl was stuck with a packed dining room and no help. About 20 minutes into it, my manager approaches me, looking both angry and sheepish. Basically, the trainee had messed up and charged the wrong orders to the wrong cards and needed help. Though, the way she phrased this was, you know, you don't have to stay by the counter the whole time. That's not what I meant. I looked over and could see her friend on her phone still, and the manager herself still had AirPods on and a show playing on her own phone screen. I responded in my sweetest, most respectful voice. I am sorry, but as we only get paid $10 an hour, my tips are too vital for me to forfeit them. So I'm going to stay put. She was floored, and instead of helping either of us herself, waddled back to her seat and resumed her show. Of course, I ended up checking in with the trainee and asked if she needed my help and if the mistake was sorted out. She said that she had things back under control and a lot of the people dining in were headed out, which was great because the counter was still slammed. The kicker? This morning, apparently, a customer called in and complained. The blonde girl, me, and the girl with braids, trainee, were so busy that they were sweating, while the other 2 women, manager and her buddy, were sitting on their phones. I only wish I saw her face when she heard about the complaint. The last story is called Accident Report. I work in manufacturing and have for more than a decade. Repetitive stress injuries are really common due to repetitive work. The shoulder and wrist are the most commonly affected areas, but risk can be reduced with economic tools, which my company is refusing to buy. I work with trigger action drills a lot. These are really bad for your wrists and shoulders. We've complained, but more ergonomic tools are slower and we must not affect production. There are areas in my work we don't work with them often. Good area, so we take turns. In the bad area, one of my coworkers has been placed on restricted duty, so he gets to skip his turn. A couple of weeks ago, my coworker was out due to their injury, so I was placed in the bad area for an extended amount of time, taking his turn and mine. After a couple of days, my bad wrist started bothering me. At previous employers, you'd complain to your direct supervisor. They'd send you to the nurse, on site. The nurse would restrict you to work that would not bother the injury. You'd rest and ice it in your off time and be back to full duty in a couple of days. My current employer wanted to do something else. Instead, I reported it to my direct supervisor. I think he thought I was lying, because no one wants to work in the bad area. He said, if it hurts that bad, you'll need to file an accident report. I said, but there is no accident to report, it's just a strain injury. He rebutted with, we cannot make exceptions without documentation. So we filled out an accident report. Put me on light duty. Extra light duty. It was fine. Boring. And I was not to use my dominant head at all. Saw the nurse the next day. The nurse basically tells me what I already know. It's a stress injury. There's nothing to do about it, but take a pain med and ice it. She has me stay on light duty until I get a doctor's note to confirm her speculation. Basically, I need a doctor's note to say I'm fine. After a couple of days of light duty and not using it at all, the pain and swelling had gone away. I felt like this all could have been avoided if my boss would have given me a little compassion and the benefit of the doubt. I don't complain usually. I kind of like the bad area. The pacing is good. The work is less tedious, but the physical strain gets to everyone. But now I have to pay for an urgent care visit. So I go to urgent care and I wait 2 hours to see this poor nurse who has been called back to the clinic after a 14-hour shift, due to an abundance of patients and poor scheduling. All so that he can write me a note that says, here's nothing wrong with them. I told him I thought it was stupid and a waste of his time and mine. He agreed. He wrote the note, and when it was given to me, it said, he is fine to be on regular duty, but cannot use trigger action drills more than 8 hours a week. Wait, what? I can work a little more than 1 shift in the bad area. A week, from now on. The visit summary paperwork included a small note from the nurse. If pain or swelling returns, reduction of this type of work may be needed. If you have any concerns, I can be reached at phone number. My time is yours. Scheduling around my coworker's injury and my doctor's note has been tricky. My boss complains about it, but he literally made me do it. And with that, we end today's video. Let me know what you think about the stories. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the stories and today's video? I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like what I do and want to support me, please subscribe and hit the like button. I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.